This conference will now be recorded.
This class will be about chronic pancreatitis. Chronic pancreatitis is progressive inflammatory disease with irreversible destruction of pancreatic tissue. The ducts, the isthmus tissue, and the islets all will be affected in chronic pancreatitis. Acute pancreatitis, there can be reversible changes, whereas in chronic pancreatitis, the changes are irreversible. The physiology is completely altered. As this is predominantly a disease of alcoholism, it is most common in males than females. And the mean age of presentation is more than 40 years of age. Chief complaint would be pain in the epigastric region radiating to the back and is associated with exocrine and endocrine insufficiencies. Exocrine insufficiencies manifest as steatorrhea, whereas endocrine insufficiency manifests as diabetes. The pancreas, there are certain cells called pancreatic stellate cells, which are activated on repeat inflammation, leading to fibrotic and indurated changes of pancreatitis. So, the pancreas becomes small, indurated, and become nodular with rounded edges. And there will be strictures and dilatations in the pancreatic duct with calcifications. Pancreatic duct calcification is pathognomic of chronic pancreatitis. Pancreatic duct calcification is pathognomic of chronic pancreatitis. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Coming to the etiology, the etiology is classified under two names. Either it can be a Tigaro classification or Mannheim's classification. These nothing but these classifications include the etiology leading to chronic pancreatitis. The basic etiology includes genetic mutations like mutations of PRSS1, SPINK1, and CFTR. These are the three main mutations: PRSS1, SPINK1, and CFTR. And the second is alcohol exposure, the most common cause of chronic pancreatitis. Duct obstruction due to trauma. Duct obstruction either because of trauma or gallstones, and tumors are rarely a cause of chronic pancreatitis. The main causes would be trauma and gallstones. And certain metabolic disorders like hyperlipidemia and hyperparathyroidism, where they can block the duct system, and there is autoimmune pancreatitis and tropical pancreatitis. Tropical pancreatitis is associated with gene SPINK1, SPINK1. Tropical pancreatitis is associated with SPINK1 mutation. Of the mutations, CFTR is most common. CFTR is an autosomal recessive gene. Biallelic expression leads to cystic fibrosis, whereas monoallelic expression leads to chronic pancreatitis. This is what I have mentioned before, Tigaro classification. Tigaro means toxic, idiopathic, genetic, autoimmune, recurrent, and obstructive. Toxic includes alcoholism, smoking, hypercalcemia, hyperlipidemia. Whereas idiopathic includes genetic. Idiopathic includes familial conditions and tropical conditions. The main, and as I mentioned, the genes are CFTR, SPINK1, and PRSS1. There is something called autoimmune pancreatitis. Unlike other autoimmune disorders, this autoimmune pancreatitis is more common in males. Usually, autoimmune disorders are more common in females, whereas autoimmune pancreatitis is more common in males. Other causes being recurrent and severe acute causes like vascular diseases, radiation injuries, and post-necrotic changes. Obstructive causes are pancreas divisum, most common congenital abnormality of pancreas divisum. There is duct obstruction by either trauma or tumor or a stone. As I mentioned, alcohol is the most common cause of chronic pancreatitis, with 60 to 70% being of the cases being due to alcohol. More than 80 ml per day. Here it is mentioned as more than 150, but minimum more than 80 ml or 100 ml per day increases the chances of pancreatitis. And chronic alcoholism, there will be repeated inflammation. Additionally, if genetic and metabolic factors are present, they act together with alcohol, further increasing the risk of chronic pancreatitis. Tropical causes are malnutrition, hydrocarbons, and cassava root. Cassava root is a cyanogenic glycoside. It is consumed mostly in Kerala. This is one of the staple diet for Kerala. This is the tapioca cassava root, which is chiefly consumed in Kerala. And genetic conditions: PRSS1, it inhibits trypsinogen. If this is mutated, trypsinogen is activated on its own, leading to pancreatitis. Trypsinogen is the enzyme secreted by pancreas in an inactive form, and it gets activated in the small bowel or duodenum. If it is activated within the pancreas, it leads to pancreatitis. This activation is prevented within the pancreas by virtue of PRSS1 gene. If this is mutated, this activation is inhibited. This activation is no longer inhibited, leading to pancreatitis. And there is PINK. This is also a protease inhibitor. Come to autoimmune pancreatitis. This is associated with other autoimmune conditions like Sjögren's syndrome, primary biliary cirrhosis, and primary sclerosing cholangitis. And it is associated with elevated IgG4, immunoglobulin G4. This you can see with repeated episodes of acute pancreatitis, there is increased degree of pancreatic damage. And with each episode, you can observe that with each episode, there is increasing degree of damage. Between the first and second episode, between the second and third episode, you can see a lot of difference in increasing degree of damage. It manifests as pain abdomen radiating to the back, diabetes, steatorrhea. Steatorrhea is nothing but increased fat content of the stool. Increased fat content of the stool, which is more than 7 grams per day. More than 7 grams per day of fat in 100 grams of stool indicates steatorrhea. It is associated with large stools. And it will associate with pseudocyst. There will be anorexia and weight loss. Classically, the patient leans forward. The patient with pancreatitis leans forward because pancreas, we know, is a retroperitoneal structure. Over it lies the peritoneal structures. If you lean forward, all the contents of the abdomen fall forward. So there will be no parietal stimulation of peritoneum lying over the pancreas. So the pain will be less severe. The patient with pain is not lost. The pain becomes less severe. This is also called the Maka prayer sign. Maka prayer sign. Steatorrhea is a feature of advanced pancreatitis. And to investigate, we need to get a pancreatic functional test. Pancreatic functional test includes the serum amylase and lipase levels, fecal fat assay to check for the amount of fat in feces, and there is something called Lund test, LUNDH test, where we place a rice tube in the patient's stomach, in the patient's duodenum, and after you give secretin, there will be increased secretions, and you assess for the amount of secretions and the contents of the secretions. If the enzyme levels are decreased, you can confirm it is pancreatic insufficiency. That is Lund test. And we can, as I have said, there will be ductal calcifications. The calcium and fat, they are destroyed, they are saponified and calcified, and which can be seen on the X-ray as calcifications. The calcification is pathognomic of chronic pancreatitis. In ultrasound of abdomen, you can see pancreatic calcifications, you can see pseudocysts, and you can see the decrease in gland size. See, this is an X-ray picture where you can see calcifications. The first image is X-ray, where you can see the calcifications. And there is CT abdomen. There will be peripancreatic fat stranding and multiple dilatations. The characteristic of this will be there will be multiple dilations. There will be a chain of lakes. There will be multiple dilatations and stricturing. Will be alternating stricture and dilatations, alternating strictures and dilatations, which is seen as chain of lakes. Coming to MRCP, it is an MRI modality which is non-invasive and is very sensitive in screening pathologies of pancreas. MRCP, magnetic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. Magnetic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. And the other one is ERCP, which is invasive. It is endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. Endoscopic RCP. It is very accurate. It is very sensitive and specific in delineating the anatomy. ERCP. You can see calcifications in the tail of pancreas. You can see the calcifications in the tail of pancreas. You can see the pancreas on the right side. On the left side, you can see the biliary tree, whereas on the right side, you can see the pancreatic duct. It is very much dilated. It is tortuous, and surrounding it, there are certain calcifications. It is dilated pancreatic duct with calcifications. This is an ERCP image where you can see the catheter. You can see the catheter. The scope is in the stomach, and there is injection. And the patient is injected with a dye, a radio contrast dye. The gold standard for diagnosis of chronic pancreatitis is ERCP, and the most recent advance that helps in diagnosing chronic pancreatitis and its severity is endoscopic ultrasound, EUS, endoscopic ultrasound. The gold standard is ERCP, whereas the investigation of choice can be EUS or MRCP. As I have said, you can see chain of lakes and intraductal filling defects. This is an MRCP, ERCP image. The one with coils is the instrument, is the endoscopic instrument, and you can see various dilatations. And the ERCP findings are classified as per the Cambridge criteria. This is Cambridge criteria. You just need to know the name. You need to know the classification. Cambridge criteria. It is based on ERCP. Endoscopic ultrasound. It visualizes both the pancreatic ducts and the parenchyma. It visualizes both pancreatic ducts and parenchyma. It detects chronic pancreatitis in the early stage itself. And the EES criteria is Rosemont criteria. Rosemont criteria. This is the Rosemont criteria. This is the Rosemont criteria. And this is the endoscopic image. This is the endoscopic image. The circles that you see is the scope, and the surrounding structures are the anatomical structures. You can see the CBD, the pancreatic duct, and the portal vein. And the structure which is marked with an arrow is a stone. Is a stone. As you can see, the most specific investigation will be the endoscopic ultrasound. Sensitive will be endoscopic ultrasound. The most least sensitive will be transabdominal ultrasound. The transabdominal ultrasound is very less sensitive because of presence of fat, abdominal wall, and bowel structures. This is a cross section of a chronic pancreatic tissue. You can see the duct. With the duct, you can see calcifications. The main modality of treatment is medication. You need to start with NSAIDs. NSAIDs. The basic and the first important drug that you should start with is NSAID. If you can't control with NSAID, you have to step up the analgesia. You can go for opiates, except morphine. Except morphine, you can use any opioid. You should not use morphine because it leads to sphincter of Oddi spasm, which further increases the pain. And if it is not at all controlled, with medications, you need to go for surgical management. Surgical management. The basis of surgical management is that the chief cause of pain in pancreatitis is ductal hypertension. Ductal hypertension. Accumulation of contents within the duct leads to distension of pancreas, leading to pain. This is called ductal hypertension. We need to alleviate this ductal hypertension. So we need to go for a surgery. And the pacemaker for pain in chronic pancreatitis is head of pancreas. The pacemaker for pain is head of pancreas. So the basics for surgery is 2 points. First, you need to remove the ductal hypertension. So you must open the duct. And the second point is the main cause of pain is head of pancreas. And so to alleviate the pain, you need to remove the head of pancreas. So any surgery for chronic pancreatitis, either you need to remove the head of pancreas or you need to remove the diseased duct of the pancreas. Either open the duct or remove the part of pancreas with a pathological duct. Okay. And if the patient is not fit for surgery, then you should go for endoscopic ultrasound or CT guided celiac axis block. As pancreas is a foregut structure, the pain is mediated by celiac axis. So celiac axis lies opposite T12. There will be 2 celiac axis bodies, and with the help of alcohol, you go for a celiac axis neurolysis. Celiac axis neurolysis for a patient who is not fit for surgery, or if he has intractable pain despite of surgery, you need to go for a guided celiac axis block. So there are three modalities. One, you go for medication. Two, you go for surgery, by either removing the duct or the head. And three, if nothing is possible, you need to go for a celiac plexus block. You must, the patient is, a patient with chronic pancreatitis is usually malnourished, is diabetic, and so what you have to do is you need to give a patient low in fat, rich in protein and carbs, so that his nutrition will improve. And there must be aggressive carbohydrate control with supplementation of insulin. There will be no use of drugs. There is no use of drugs in diabetes due to chronic pancreatitis. The only replacement is you need to give him insulin. And also you have to supply pancreatic enzyme. As there is no decreased pancreatic enzyme production, you have to provide enzymes which are necessary for digestion of fat, proteins and carbohydrates. And it's better to give medium chain triglycerides because they're absorbed directly by the small intestine without the need for digestion, whereas small chain light chain triglycerides, they need they need to be digested. So better give medium chain triglycerides. And you need to reduce gas secretions, and you must treat diabetes. Endoscopic management. If the pathology is a stricture or obstruction at the papilla, you need to go for a endoscopic sphincterotomy. Sphincterotomy is incision of one of the edges of one of the sides of duct of ampulla, ampullary duct. If there is stricture, you need to go for a sphincterotomy, and you have to dilate it, and you have to place a stenting. And if it is a calculi, you again do a sphincterotomy, dilate it, extract the stone, and you place a stent. The stones that are usually found are calcium carbonate stones. Calcium carbonate stones. And coming to surgical management. If it is the problem of the duct, you go for a drainage procedure. And if it is a problem of the head, you go for a resective procedure. It is either drainage or it is resection. Excuse me. The drainage procedures are lateral pancreatic jejunostomy, where the pancreatic duct is opened laterally or anteriorly from head till tail of the pancreas. From head till tail of the pancreas. This procedure is Puistos procedure. Whereas in this Puistos procedure, you have to remove the tail of pancreas as well as the spleen. And if you preserve the spleen, it is called a Partington-Russell modification of Puistos procedure. You just remember Puistos procedure. It is lateral pancreatic jejunostomy, where you open the duct from head till tail. The tail is removed, and it is anastomosed in an R-by fashion, Raven-by fashion, to a segment of jejunum. And there is a resective procedures. In these procedures, if the main pathological site is head of the pancreas, so you have to go for a Whipple's procedure, which is pancreatoduodenectomy. Whipple's procedure is pancreaticoduodenectomy. And if the pathology and if the disease is isolated to the tail of pancreas, you go for a distal pancreatectomy. And if the pathology is diffuse and is all over the pancreas, you go for a total pancreatectomy combined with islet cell transplantation. With these resection procedures, the pain alleviated in 70 to 90% of the patients. In 70 to 90%, with this resection, there will be pain alleviation. The pain is relieved in 70 to 90%. And there is a procedure called Bidger's procedure. in Whipple's procedure, you remove the duodenum along with the pancreatic head. Whereas in Bridger's procedure, you preserve the duodenum and resect only the head of pancreas. We resect only the head of pancreas, preserving the duodenum. And then there is freeze procedure, where the head is not resected, but the pancreatic tissue in the head is cored off. It is removed. The head is intact, but the tissue is removed, and it is anastomosed to the duodenum in an RY fashion. RY fashion. In all these procedures, in all these resective procedures, the left-out pancreas is anastomosed to the jejunum in a RY fashion, Rao and Y fashion. Rao and Y fashion. This is the Pusto's procedure. You can see the tail is removed. You can see the tail that is removed, and you can see duct is opened up, and it is sutured to the jejunum. This is the RY. This is the RY configuration. It is in the shape of a Y. See, this is lateral. The duct is open. You can see the stones in it, and the tissue on the left of pancreas is sutured to the jejunum. This is freeze procedure. I have said the head is cored off. The head is intact. The head is cored off. The duct is open, and the jejunum is anastomosed. And this is Bridger's procedure. You can see there is small amount of pancreas left close to the duodenum. The duodenum is left off. There is small amount of pancreas left close to duodenum, and both these edges are anastomosed to jejunum. The overall survival rate is 70% at 10 years and 45% at 20 years. And the patient is at risk of pancreas cancer by 20 years. It is about 4%. The risk of cancer is 4% at 20 years. Anyone got any doubts? There is something called hybrid procedures where both resection and drainage are combined together, and that procedure is freeze. Freeze is a hybrid procedure. Freeze procedure is a hybrid procedure. Anyone got any questions? Okay. CR.
సార్
అటెండెన్స్ తీసుకొని అండర్ దగ్గర పంపించేస్తావా?
సార్ స్క్రీన్ షాట్ తీసుకుంటాను సార్. స్క్రీన్ షాట్ తీసుకుంటున్నాను.
తీసుకుంటున్నారా? తీసుకొని అండర్ దగ్గర పంపించేసేయండి. The next class will be about malignancies of pancreas. ఎవరికైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా? Can we end the class? అతనే చెప్పండి. హలో
సార్.
నో డౌట్స్ అయితే ఆపేద్దాం క్లాస్.
నో సార్.
Okay. Have a nice day. See your attendance only, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
సార్ తీసుకున్నాం సార్.
ఇది ఆపేల క్లాస్ అయిపోయింది క్లాస్.